That was mean. I thought I was a goner. Thanks for saving me.
Hello, Ect. Good morning, Blade Taval. Good morning, Makamano. Loose quips sink ships, maybe? I don't know. Good morning, Dakota. Hey, Gregoris. Welcome to Chill Time. Got it. I shall speak in a haiku immediately. That was extremely strange. Oh my god, it's a mosquito, but it's like the Joker mosquito. Which, yeah, I think he'd probably be a mosquito if he was an insect. Hi, Hazardous. Good morning, Space Cadet. Ping to you. Listen, terrain can't matter. It's just in a dungeon crawler. That's just taboo. I can't talk. So I'm gonna be honest with y'all. For reasons that aren't really big, but just involve me watching for a while. I didn't get home and asleep until like 1. So if I'm a little bit out of it today, that's why. We'll see how much that affects things. Well, at some point, I'm going to spoil something for you, Mike. Come on, you ready for this? There is one lamentation amongst the TAS videos. I think it's 1. Pretty sure it's 1. Hi, Alex. It is funny, isn't it, how snowing tends to raise the temperature thanks to, physics. See, look at him. He's the Joker. He's the Joker. Look at him. Look at him. Pretty sure it's just the 1, Mike Demono. My brother-in-law is recovering from surgery, so I was watching the house, the kiddos, and everything else, essentially. That's it. Nothing fancy. Did I already go up? I don't think I went up. I also didn't do that one. Lotro is much more mindless than Chrono Trigger. I can agree with that. Oh, he's fine. He's recovering just fine. Thank you for asking, though. But anybody who's been through, invasive surgery knows the next few days after, you're not really up for anything. Don't really have the energy, don't really have the time, don't really have the physical capacity, don't have the ability to think straight.
This door is jammed shut. Only the power of gems can hope to move it. Dadgummit, dragon! Just cough up those stinking gems, and I can go home.
Stop talking in haikus.
You've made a wise choice. It will mean more eggs for you and more gems for me. Best of all, Spyro, I can stop speaking haiku. What a sweet relief.
Hi, Trihexia. Ironically, my Kamano... No, it does not.
Stop talking to me. I hate speaking in haiku. Just go find some gems.
Anyways. I was actually going to bring something up. Oh, yeah. So I got to explain what microtransactions...
Brave dragon. Much braver than I by far. Here, take this darn egg.
Oh, Hunter is much worse than Moneybags. No question. Hi, DirectD. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving thing. Whatever that thing is around Thanksgiving. So, I got to explain to my niece what microtransactions are and why they're horrible. She listened, as she always does. You know, I try to be very concise and very informative when I'm talking to her. But the thing that really struck me the most was she was thinking about the whole problem for a bit. And then she asked a question, and that just prompted me to come up with the perfect way to explain why I dislike microtransactions as they are applied. You ready for this? This is great. So I was describing to her the whole predatory system, and by that I mean giving her an extremely truncated version of the aforementioned system. I then said, you know, do you have any questions about this? And she frowned for a minute, and she was like, well, hold on. But you don't have to pay money for insert fictional currency here. We'll call them gems, just to relate to the game we're playing right now. So, since you don't have to pay money in order to get gems, how is it bad to buy things from the in-game store? And I was like, okay, no, that's a very valid question. So let me ask you something, kiddo. And I'm going to start using... I'm going to come up with, like, a polished way to phrase this. But what I said to her was, how do you think they make money if they don't charge you for the game and they don't charge you for gems?
When all lamps are lit, there is a...
Now, because my niece is my niece, rather than being confused or distraught or anything like that, when she heard that, she was just like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's actually a really complex, an unfortunately complex topic, and there's a lot of psychology and math that goes into it. But the long and the short of it is, that's the simplest and easiest way to explain why microtransactions can go straight to hell. How do you think they make money when they don't charge you for the product and they don't charge you for the gems? Or, I'm saying that wrong. They don't charge you for the product, and you can earn the gems without paying for them. There we go. That's the more accurate way to phrase that. Because you can. Just spend a little bit of time. Do some daily quests. You can. You can get Lotro points for free. Somewhat recently, I was looking into a software in order to help me track my time slightly differently than I currently do. Just to get a little bit more hard data on a minute-to-minute matter of exactly where I'm spending my time right now in my life. I found a few options. All of them were free. Excuse me, all but one of them were free. I didn't use any of those. One of them charged money. Guess which one was the one that was actually worth the damn and actually did what I needed it to do? Hello? Oh, by the way, if I had to add one additional layer to the whole, you know, how do you think they make money thing, it's actually worse than that, because if you think about it for a second, it's not just the fact that 1 or 2 or 5 companies are jumping into the Microtransactions bundle and saying, hey, you can get, you know, this game, and you don't have to pay a single dime. You can pay the whole game for free, as long as you do these dailies and get the in-game stuff. It's the fact that there are thousands upon thousands of those companies out there, which are producing tens of thousands of these stupid games. Like, Smell-O-Vision didn't catch on. That's a bad example. There are things which have not caught on in real life because they weren't financially viable. Yeah, successful business models tend to spread. Like it or not. Like bombing rhinos.
This swamp smells so sweet. The springtime trees are fragrant. I'm off to kick butt.
I've never heard of a swamp smelling sweet. I mean, Shovelware was a successful business model for a while. I don't actually know if it still is anymore. Certainly was for a long time. Both definitions of Shovelware.
We have the bombs here. We must destroy the egg cage. But we just go boom. Kangaroo can help. You can clear the path for us. Will Sheila help us? Yes, it's bombing time. Here I come, my little eggs, to free you at last.
So there's 2 definitions of Shovelware. There's the traditional definition, which I'm not sure if that's really true anymore.
Ow! Yeah.
The old definition of Shovelware was when you have a license, like, say, what's a movie that just came out? Help me out here. Oh, this is kind of mean, isn't it? Oh, you're going that... Why are you going that...
Ow! Yeah.
Mummy. So imagine someone makes a really bad Mummy tie-in game, like Mummy Demastered. And they pretty much deliberately make the game as crap as possible in order to keep costs down. And that's Shovelware, pretty much right there, #1. Easy to find. But I'm not sure how true that is anymore, because nowadays, Shovelware tends to... Where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you incredibly stupid? Nowadays, Shovelware tends to refer to just about any extremely low-effort, low-cost project, where, yeah, the whole point is to shovel it out the door as quickly as possible. And yeah, anybody familiar with the Amiga/Atari era knows exactly what I mean when I'm referring to Shovelware. I can't believe that worked, but I'm not going to question it. Where are you going now, buddy? You're going over here. Oh, okay. And then over here.
Ow! I went boom again. Big rocks can be kicked, they say. Mushrooms must be stomped.
Hang on, I have to go destroy Eleazar really quick. There we go. This is awful. But yeah, Shovelware, honestly, of course, we have the Amiga/Atari era, and the Wii, and the modern era. Like, have you looked at Steam Greenlight? But in my mind, the worst example of Shovelware is actually the DS. Have you ever looked at how many games are on the DS? Because the DS's library is absolutely gargantuan. I think it actually, to this day, dwarfs everything other than the PC. And the PC kind of wins by default. Oh god, I don't remember what we decided, Eleazar. I asked you to remember.
Yes.
I don't remember. Hang on. God damn it. Give me a minute. Okay, I just need to check these. Okay, cool. We're good. We're good. Everything's good. I double-checked my figures. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. So, hi, Eleazar. I'm not going to say thank you, because I did last time, and you already allocated everything. I am, however, going to say hi. Can't believe that didn't count against me. What? Well, okay, it counted, so I'm not even gonna argue. Oh my god, so it's time to give up on 100%ing again, as we so often do. Nope, no, no, no.
Ow.
You know, this wouldn't bother me if there was an indicator of the route he'd take, but as we've already seen, he will actually go off-route just to run into an obstacle. Yeah, this is just straight up memorizing, and then seeing what the next step is, and then memorizing, and then seeing what the next step is. So, he is gonna go here next. Now what? He's going this way.
Ow! I went boom again. Big rocks can be kicked, they say. Mushrooms must be stomped.
Thank you, Bella. I will put that towards Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, apparently we're having trouble with the trolley, eh? Anyways, Ect asked a question, which is actually a good question. I know, shocking. If a game hits lamentation status, do we label the highlight as such? No, of course not. Or maybe we could. But maybe we shouldn't. But maybe we could and shouldn't. Either way, I've never thought about it. However, what I would probably do, just... What? What?
Ow!
What I would probably do is I would go ahead and do the usual thumbnail inversion trick I do for any lamentation, and just kind of let that speak for itself. Oh god, I'm getting donations. Directy is directly trying to kill me. Okay, so where are you going? Where are you going? I actually don't know where he goes. Oh, he doubled back! He doubled back! What? What? What?
Ow! I went... Yes!
Thank you, Directy. Very much appreciate. I will put that towards the Dragon Age block. Thank you. Ect also asks, do I think Elon Musk is neurodivergent? No, I think he's a moron. Also, Glass Onion, if you know, you know. I mean, I'm not sure anybody actually looks at my Twitter account anyways.
Ow.
I have to wait until it has reached a full and upright position to knock it down again. And I cannot extend the duration of it being down while it's already down. No.
Ow.
I do have a Twitter. I supposedly have quite a few followers, but every time I send out an announcement tweet, which is the only thing I use Twitter for, I get usually about 10 reactions to that. So I'm pretty sure I only have about 10 people who follow me on Twitter. That's the second time I've had trouble double jumping on top of that mushroom. Like, it feels like it's resisting me double jumping up to it. Whereas I could jump up to that one without hesitation. Look at that. No issues. Why am I having issues jumping onto that last mushroom? You know what irritates me most about Twitter? Twitter is perfectly positioned in terms of structure and style and format to be... What is going on with that? To be the source of news for the entire world. Okay. I legitimately don't actually know what's happening. I have no problems whatsoever jumping up here from a distance, like I just tried to do, or getting right up on it, like that. Okay, that I screwed up. So I'm starting to think that that last mushroom literally has some kind of screwed up physics to it, or something. Anyways, but yeah, Twitter... Sorry, I should flip this. Twitter has essentially the perfect positioning to be the news source. It isn't. And that's the problem with Twitter. I shouldn't say that. Twitter is actually the news source, which... I was ready for you this time. Now what? God! Why? By the way, this is the first and easier of the two. Honestly, if I wasn't having the weird can't get on top of the mushroom bug, I'd probably be fine. I'm just going to call it a straight-up bug at this point. Because this is not how this should be working. And I need to do the super high jump in order to get over the thing, and it takes forever to get up there. Oh my god! I might have done that one way too early. Because I did. Nope.
Ow! I went. One egg cage remains. Will you now help my brother to free the last egg?
Go to hell.
If you clear my path, I can blow up the egg cage. Poor, poor captive eggs. Yes, it's bombing time.
Well, let's see what route you take. Okay.
Ow! Yep.
I don't understand the question, Traxia. Why aren't you a kangaroo?
Ow! Yep.
So I'm going to argue for 3 negatives for this. Would anyone like to try and argue against me?
Ow! Yep.
I don't know if I agree with that, Dakota. This reminds me a lot of Flight School. Like, that's actually, it's funny you say that, because that's the specific vibe I was getting from this. It's Flight School. I mean, you'll notice the score has been pretty positive so far, Valvatrix. In fact, I believe we've only given 1 negative prior to this. I could be wrong. Well, we're currently on the 2nd mission to load.
Ow! Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to talk about the fact that this is contrived as hell. He has to take this exact path into the mushrooms because... And then he has to start over all the way back from the beginning. Every time. Like, I know this is a video game, and we had a big discussion, Saturday, I believe it was, about the nature of video games. I think it's actually this one. But this is pretty video gamey. Not a good way. Okay, now what bullcrap are you going to throw me at the last minute? Oh, you're not. Okay, good.
eggs are all free. 2 dragons are born today. Sheila's my hero.
That's a good way to put that, Alex. It's such a damn shame because a lot of the early levels in Sunshine are some of the better levels in it. And I will say to this day that Delfino Plaza is one of the better designed hubs ever. Like, it's not the best, but it's pretty far up there, I'd say. Anyway, so let's see. Let's add some questions. Ect asks, what are the canon that all people who write within the extent need to be aware of and acknowledge? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to understand that you're going to be writing this story alongside me. So I'm going to be wanting regular updates and ideas and concepts you want to do. You have to run by me because it's my setting. That's kind of it. There's some very basic bare bones requirements. And of course, you know, there's a lot of pre-established technology, magic, culture, science, blah, 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 blah. But that's true in any setting. If you're asking for rule number 1, the Roddenberry box, there isn't quite a thing like that. Except for, of course, the Lore Runner box, which you do have to keep in mind at all times. Because if you violate that, whew. Is Garrosh a good written character? Yes. Would I pull a switch to save a trolley full of tribals from horrible death in a trash compactor? No. Actually, yeah, what Dakota says is pretty accurate. Go ahead and delete some of these. Are Fallout 3 and New Vegas funded? No. Those are both in the BRPG block, which last I checked is absolutely nowhere. Yes. Dream Whisperer's kind of right. I joke, but there kind of is a Lore Runner box, and it really is just, you know, a couple of basic rules and continuity are the biggest things. Yeah, there's no horrible stuff, and continuity. That's the Lore Runner box right there. And that's kind of it. So Crazy North says, have I gotten a lot of feedback on the end of the Ruminations? Yes, and I would absolutely let triples die. But you said tribals, so I thought you meant I thought you meant, like, the guys we were just escorting, given the time at which you asked the question. However, would I flip a switch to save tribbles from Trash Compactor? No, but I would hit the switch to activate the flamethrowers as the Trash Compactor is compacting. Ah, there it is. I see it. I see it. It's back, right? Yep. Okay, cool. We should be done here. So yes, I have actually gotten back feedback on the end of Ruminations. Ironically, most of the feedback has been better. I guess we just had to get that initial wave of assholes out of the way. Because for the most part, people have just been like, yeah, it sucks that it's ending. Moving on. And, you know, that's fine. What I respect most is the number of people who have been trying to convince me not to discontinue the Ruminations, which is extraordinarily small. Did I already do this? Yes, this is the mini-boss. Okay. It's very assholey. Can't argue that. Thank you, Bamber. I will jot that down for Tunic. Oh no, all the Ruminations are gone. One of my favorite tidbits. I have, of course, had a few people who have insisted that I continue the Ruminations in X, Y, or Z format. Not in the productive sense of the word, but in the, I'm used to getting this content for free, and I want to keep getting this content for free. Please keep giving me this content for free kind of a mentality. Now, those people can suck a lemon. One thing I was expecting to happen that didn't happen, or at least hasn't yet happened, is I expected to pop onto my Patreon, because Patreon keeps track of all of the losses, people who delete or reduce income. It does it in a very badly designed way, because Patreon wouldn't know good interface design if it walked up and smacked it in the face, but it is there if I go looking for it. And I haven't gotten that yet. Go figure. Okay. Confused by that one. Yeah, this isn't what I would call a surprise, but it continues to amuse me how many people on the YouTube side of things are so de-invested from the show that this has blindsided a lot of people. Like, oh, I can't believe they're ending, or whatever. It's like, but... Thank you, Tim and Ash. I will put that towards Pentiment. Give me a moment. How do I get over there? Well, I mean, that's something that I've known for a long time, is that a large number of my viewers on YouTube, probably the larger percentage of them overall, are what I mentally refer to as YouTube viewers, who, that's it. They watch the YouTube content and they either don't know or don't care that the rest of the show even exists. So it doesn't really surprise me that someone would, for example, have no idea that lore weeks exist, or announcements exist, or Twitter, or the website, or anything else, because it's just so much outside of their sphere of influence or knowledge, or whatever you want to call that. There we go. Like, I was not quiet about the ruminations going away. And not just on stream. But at the same time, and this ties into what I mentioned earlier about the free thing, most of the people who knew that the ruminations were going away are probably the people who actually funded and supported the show financially in some way or another, because all of those people are aware of that as we did the floodgate cycles. But anyways, that answers your question, Crazorus, even though you've left now and haven't even been there for the answer to that. So having finished Halo Reach on Legendary difficulty, I love the plasma pistol combo. Oh, the DMR plasma pistol combo. Well, I hate the plasma pistol personally. I think it's the worst gun ever made in the history of the ever. So, 5 years, Hazardous. That's not an exaggeration. If you want it, if I had to, I could go find you a more precise timestamp. I'm sure it's useful, I just don't like playing with it. The guns I prefer in the Halo games tend to be the sniper rifles, in general.
Spyro, Rhinox have been harassing us all day. The workers haven't been able to harvest the bamboo needed for the whirligig to take you to Evening Lake. We've tried asking them to leave, but there's no reasoning with them.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Ruminations will continue to go live for 4 months from now. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Red. Technically speaking, there will be no gap in videos going live on YouTube. Yeah, when I recorded Ruminations 2 years ago, give me a minute, I can tell you the exact date. They'll be going live until... This won't even take me long. March 13th will be the last one. Sorry. Actually, I believe that's going to be a TAS episode. I did answer that question, Elizar, believe it or not. The quick and easy answer is, of course, yes. So actually, the last Enterprise episode goes live February 7th. The last episode going live on March 13th is a TAS episode, the Counterclock Incident. Sorry, I'm looking something up here real quick. Okay, cool. No forgiveness, Elizar. No surrender. Yes and no, respectively, Act. But you can just link it in chat, and then chat can look at it. Meanwhile, DirectD's comment in YouTube, "You bastard! How dare you discontinue this free content? Punch!" You know, one of my favorite types of comments, I've only gotten one of these in the last week. I forget how it was phrased, but it boiled down to the only content that I'm willing to process is free content, because only someone who really cares about putting out the best product possible, only someone who is willing to do it for free will put out the best product possible. There we go, that's how it was phrased. Yep, free mobile games are much better than Chrono Trigger. Or this game. So I thought about it for a bit, and I think that little bug is what's going to officially push that into triple negative territory. The couldn't get on top of the mushrooms bug. Because that's just bonkers. You know what's doubly funny? there's a common rule about human psychology, which I employ on my very show. It boils down... I should put this... So there's a common rule about human psychology, which I employ on my very show. It boils down to the idea that if you get something for free, you care less about it. There's less thought or effort or anything put into it. By contrast, if you have to pay for something, you are more likely to actually think about what you're going for. Let me explain how I use that, and maybe that could explain that better than I'm doing with my terrible, terrible terminology. Once upon a time, we actually did this thing where you could just suggest a game to be funded, and then... Or not even be funded. You could just suggest a game to be streamed, and then we could stream it. As a result, we played and streamed a fairly large number of games. Now, you might say, oh, that's good, right? No, because a lot of those games really should not have been streamed. Either because they weren't a good stream game, or because nobody cared about it. Even the people who suggested it. Because they didn't really care about it, because it was free. Yeah, if the audience size was much, much smaller, and granted, I'm not exactly a big streamer, but if the audience size was much, much smaller, that might actually work. Just, hey, what do you want to stream? This. Okay, cool. But by forcing it into a limited perspective, people tend to actually think more about it. Now, that doesn't have to involve money. An idea I've had before, and something I have sincerely thought about implementing if I'm ever able to disentangle some of the funding off of, like, Twitch, for example, or become independently wealthy or whatever, is make a thing so that every month, anybody who bothers, who is part of the stream, gets a link to a rated vote list, right? And you get one pick per month of something that you would really like to see streamed that month. And then we tally it up and figure out what people want to see streamed and so forth and so on. You get the idea, right? So, you might think, well, how's that? That's still free, right? Because you only get one, because of the fact that it's limited, it psychologically tends to fill the same slot as you have to pay for it. Because you only get one thing. You can't just randomly throw out ideas all willy-nilly. Why are they all sneezing? I'm not sure if that would work or not, because obviously I haven't done it, so that's all in the realm of hypothetical. But it's something I've been thinking about. Well, to be completely honest, Alex, the only way that would work is if we erased the list. Oh god, I remember that, Valvatrix. I'm so sorry, Mr. Red. Hey. Make sure to clear up immediate dangers. Okay. Well, obviously I'm not going to just do that right now, Alex. But anyways. So first, thank you, Paranoid Android. And I will, as usual, put that towards Alpha Centauri. And I gotta pull up the thing for Zalog. It was donated $11.16. That's true, Daquita. Tizara's everywhere. Towards Unmetal. Which I don't remember what that is, but I know it's on the list. Thank you, Zalok. Always appreciate. Yeah, I don't deal in cents. I'm just going to round that up. Okay, so. Fife asked a question, but I don't know if Fife is still here or not. See if I can actually make this stupid jump. Ping to you, Flag End. Apparently I cannot make this stupid jump. God, I failed that one again. Oh, there are hundreds of games that will never get funded. I can pretty much guarantee that with mathematical certainty. Many a time I've considered going ahead and going back to axing games off of the list. But no matter how I think of it, I don't think that's actually a good idea. Except maybe in very, very specific cases where a game has to get axed for one reason or another. But anyways, so you asked, Fife, what games are in the BRPG block? So that is going to consist of, in order, Morrowind, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and Fallout New Vegas. Did you know I spawned on the spot where the egg was? Because I didn't know that. I think I've lost 4 lives to that stupid little island out in the middle of nowhere. I think Hazardous' guess here about gameplay capacity is being proven wrong so far. And hang on, let me just delete a bunch of questions in the queue here. Delete. Okay, so you've shared the artwork, which I did look at for 1 second. Done is my answer to your other question, Act. Sold. Make it happen. Here's $5. Which is about the budget that Game Freak put into their 3D engine development team. So, Bamber asks, how blind am I on Tunic? Well, I know it's a Dark Souls game, and I know that the manual is so bad it's probably getting a negative. But that's about all I got, actually. I don't know much about Tunic. I mean, that's a Nintendo thing, so I think it should be in the Nintendo channel, to answer your final question. So. Delete. Eva says, you mentioned having trouble sleeping. You doing better now? That's funny you asked that today, since I didn't even get home until like 1 something. But yes, I'm having a little bit easier time sleeping. It's usually on a day-to-day basis, because that's just life at this point. Aha! See you around, Alex. But I don't know if I'll catch you tomorrow. Well, we'll see if and when we ever get there, Bamber. That's just... we'll see. We'll see. What would I recommend for helping with falling asleep? Well, the first and most obvious thing is to manage the psychology of your brain being in sleep mode, which I've talked about several times. Doing certain things to kind of wind down at the end of the day. Making sure not to do anything particularly engaging shortly before going to bed. Disentangling yourself from electronics in general before going to bed. There's also lots of little micro tips you can do to try and trick your brain into the fact that it is now time to sleep, and therefore you should go ahead and go to sleep. Now, the reason I'm kind of speaking in vagueness and generics is because what those things are and what works for you kind of depends on you. So my best piece of advice is to try stuff. Try a few different ideas. See what works. Now, if you are a light sleeper, and which you probably are by virtue of the fact that you're asking this question, I agree with Dakoita's comment. Try to reduce anything that would distract you from the act of simply sleeping. Noise and light are the 2 most obvious things, but also any kind of like activity that may or may not be going around in your area. I know that sounds like a weird one, but anyone who's ever slept in a college dorm knows what I mean by activity going around in your area. Or any other kind of communal sleep situation like that. Cute. Apparently Yetis are a myth. Who knew? I wonder who I keep buying my shirts from every year. Don't listen to Bamber. Bamber's ideas are terrifying. At the end of the day, one of the options you can do is you can drug yourself down. Now, I don't recommend doing that on any level. But it is the final option, and it usually works as far as getting you to sleep. So, drugging yourself down is a valid option. It's just not one I will recommend. And thank you very much, Jesse's Mask. I will put that towards Hogwarts Legacy. Oops. There we go. Yeah, so... I should probably mention what I mean by drugging yourself down. So, there's the over-the-counter option, which is Z-Quil. I do not recommend NyQuil. NyQuil will cause you organ difficulty. Don't do that.
Oh, the emergency escape bridge! Why didn't I think of it sooner? I shall activate it right away.
I like her shirt. She apparently really likes bamboo.
We would be honored if you would accept this as a token of our appreciation.
I mean, taking alcohol before going to sleep is drugging yourself down. Let's be very clear about that. Oh my god, really? I don't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about. There's nothing here. You can't make me hear it. So, where was I? Z-Quil is a relatively safe option. If you want to do something substantially more painful to your body, you can actually take Benadryl. I will pretty much never recommend taking Benadryl as a way to go to sleep because that does a couple of other things alongside it. Among most noteworthy, it was going to dehydrate you a bit, which can cause all kinds of issues. But ignoring that, Benadryl will probably knock you out. That is probably a thing that'll happen. Obviously, there's the melatonin thing, but as we've actually discussed on this very channel before, melatonin only works in a very specific circumstance, and that primarily works for people who don't get regular access to, I forget what it's called, but the cycle of sunlight, right? Like, all melatonin does is try to simulate something that your body generates naturally, if it actually encounters sun in a regular manner. So, if you are someone who has even a casual amount of interaction with just sunlight, that's not going to do anything for you. It's one of the reasons why an overwhelming majority of people always say, oh, I've heard melatonin works, but it doesn't work for me. It's because it's not going to do anything that your body isn't already doing if you already have access to sunlight. And by the way, when I say access to sunlight, like, you probably can't tell, but that's a giant blackout curtain on my window. But if that wasn't there, and I just had regular sunlight coming in, melatonin wouldn't do anything for me. I honestly would say the fireflies. Valvatrix, no question. I think I know where that one is. Hang on. My toe's being weird. There we go. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. Melatonin's probably not going to do anything. Melatonin's for vampires. Oh, there's a story idea. So there's psychological tricks, there's physiological tricks, there's getting a bunch of subs dumped on my face. Hang on, every one of these subs says, thank you for getting rid of the ruminations. I hated them. They were a constant strain and hassle. You know what the fun... Actually, I'm going to save this until Ross shows up, because I want him to hear this. I'm going to shut up. Remind me. I know where that is. Oh, there's Ross right there. Look, I summoned him. I used my infinite power to summon viewers. It's not a great power, but yeah, it's kind of convenient given what I do for a living. So, You know what the final thing was that convinced me that now was the time to pull off the Band-Aid? Let me give you a little bit of the timeline here. Because I was going to pull the Band-Aid off before Tor with regards to the rumination stuff. But I didn't because I guess the only answer I could give to that is momentum. I was still kind of going along with the fact that I'd been doing that for 5 years as a way to make up to people and make people happy, and yada yada yada. Then we started the Tor streams, and then we did the Mass Effect streams, and I forget what else, but it was almost 2 months of not having to worry about ruminations. And that was such a massive increase in my quality of life. It's one of those moments where you didn't realize how much your back hurt until you got your back adjusted kind of a situations, right? It's like, oh my god, I had no idea how much this was bugging me until it went away. And that was the final thing that convinced me that it really was time to rip off that Band-Aid. Yeah, no, exactly, Mr. Ed. And then I did a few things for, again, because we went back to them. And then I was just like... Thank you, DirectD. Always appreciate. Dragon Age block? Dragon Age block. And now, long live the highlights, where we can just play music. We can just have music in the highlight. When I say, hey, this song's great, dink. That is admittedly a hope, Savage Starlight, is that I will be able to put out better stuff by virtue of not hating my life as much. No, this song's fantastic. We should clip this music right here. I think this is definitely a clip-worthy song. Is there stuff in here? There is stuff in here. This is the worst song ever written. Who wrote this soundtrack? It's probably nobody I know, so I guess it doesn't matter. Ugh. Okay. I know, right, Lord Aramont? Maybe finally he's putting game footage in his videos. God, it only took him 11 years. Just the idea that maybe something to do with... So, I was trying to decide which direction we could take it in, because we could either make melatonin poison for vampires, not like, but something along the lines of a more traditional slow-acting poison kind of a thing, or we could do the total opposite and make it so that vampires actually can use melatonin as a way to try and regulate. Well, normally I'd say their physiology, their magicology. I don't know, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. In the former case, it's the specific reason sunlight sucks for vampires. And in the latter case, it's a way to cope for that. I'm not sure which idea I like better.
Please help us, Spyro. My friends are trying to go home after a long shift in the fields. Those rotten Rhinox keep knocking them down. Can you save the panda workers?
No.
Please hop aboard. Make sure...
What do you mean, hop aboard? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, it's a turret section. Oh, God, it's a reverse... controls turret section. Okay, we're okay. Oh.
I'm sure you would succeed if you... Please.
Well, I'll let you decide that, Zalok, but I am currently walking in very blind. I'm pretty sure they're point-and-click adventure games. That's about all I'm sure about. Pokemon Go must die. I'm not really joking about that. Pokemon Go seems inoffensive, and then you look at how much money it's made. And that's the exact moment at which Pokemon Go must die. Wow.
I'm sure you please.
And this is slow, too, because we have to go through the first loop first. That's awful. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I like this game. It's obviously going to be a pretty big net positive. Might even beat Spyro 1 in overall score. But this is not game design. Let me be very clear about that. This is not game design. Yeah, no, Pokemon Go has made a legitimately ridiculous amount of money. To the point where it's kind of disgusting. So, screw Pokemon Go. Any questions? Oh yeah, I guess I could just use the mouse. Didn't even think about that.
Please take the shiny
I could just use the mouse.
Bring you good luck.
That's an option. That's still a negative. But it's only one negative.
Would you like to try some of this bamboo?
No, thank you. I think we're done here for the moment. Until I rescue the Yeti. Get my shirts back. Oh my god, really game. Anyways, so Lord Harriman asks, if there was a single game you could erase your memory of it and experience it again for the first time, which would it be? Now, I get that question semi-frequently. Before I answer, I'll go ahead and ask you guys in chat. What do you think? There's one game you can just erase your thoughts of and then immediately sit down and play. Which do you go for? I actually have a pre-baked answer for this, because I've been asked this several times. I've thought about it before, too. Lord Harriman, I am shocked. Shocked!
Let's head on over to the whirligig.
The what? Sure. Are we... Yeah, okay, whatever. Good morning, Walker. Stanley Parable's a good pick. I like that pick. The joke will be fresh again.
Bumbling, idiotic, worthless fool! I asked you to carry out one simple task and you fail me. I should have known better than to rely on a child. But don't worry about it. I'll deal with them now.
These eggs can't be worth all this trouble.
Without the dragons, the magic in this world will wither away. Without magic, I'll die. And so will your ever-slim chance of becoming a sorceress. Now, watch how a real sorceress dispatches her enemies.
I like the egg scepter there.
From this cage, you merciless miscreants!
How would you like some dragon for lunch?
Why, if I had my club, you'd all be in for...
Okay. Cool. You know, we don't have to stop here, right?
Tactical instincts told me the sorceress would attack you here, so I flew in to help out. It seems my rocket launchers don't affect this creature, but I can assist you by dropping ammunition. Now get in there and fight the good fight.
So first of all, rockets don't work, so what do you think we're actually going to hit him with? Second of all, I love how the boss is just sitting there with his giant laser gun, very politely letting us have this conversation, because, as we all know, talking is a free action. Whatever you do, Sergeant Bird, don't pull a hunter. Okay, so he's not dropping these. These are just popping into existence periodically. That one actually popped and he dropped. And he immediately took it as ammunition. Thanks, Sergeant Bird. I appreciate that. Got it. One hit per. Well, that's worth noting. So yes, the answer is, of course, fireballs. Missiles won't work, but fireballs will. Hello, Dr. Winter. Wow. Oh, and to finish answering Lord Intermont, my answer is I wouldn't do that. I know, not exactly surprising. One of the things that I've learned the older I get is that I tend to appreciate something more the more I analyze it and the more I understand it, not less. I know that there's that first shot and, you know, different experience the first time you see a thing, yada yada yada. But honestly, I don't think FF6 would be my favorite game of all time, to use a direct example, if I didn't know it as well as I do. Like I said, it's related to a question I get semi-frequently, which boils down to, does, you know, reviewing games ruin your enjoyment of those games? And the answer is a big fat no. That's new. Oh, of course not, Dr. Winter. I mean, it's not like FF6 is a bad game. It's just that I would not enjoy FF6 as much if I didn't know FF6 as well. Reloaded and I have talked about this in the same direction, actually. You know, would you like to be able to look at Star Trek through fresh eyes? And the answer is a big fat no. Years of analysis and discussion have increased the appreciation of the work, not decreased it. But that's just me. And I know that's not true for everybody. For some people, knowing how the magic trick works actually ruins it. But for me, knowing how the magic trick works makes the entire point. Undertale is a perfect example of a game that I enjoy much more having gone through it and analyzed it and done a theater of it. That's an interesting question, Ross. I don't think I have an answer for you, though. Which?
Listen to me, Dragon. Spyro, this is serious now. The sorceress is planning a trap for you, and if she catches you, believe me, you don't want to know what she's going to do. Look, I promise to take good care of the rest of the eggs. I mean it. Just take Hunter and go back home before... I can't say it. Just go.
I think we've officially given up on trying to be intimidating since she's outright warning us at this point. Twilight Princess is another perfect example of a game that I would never want to replay. Or... replay without knowing it. Reblinded. Reblind? Reblind. We're going to call that Reblind now. Oh, and by the way, ironically, Dragon Age Origins is definitely not a game I'd want to reblind, because we all know how my first blind playthrough of Dragon Age Origins went. I've heard that before, Yura. Admittedly, you know, Twilight Princess is my personal favorite Zelda game. But it's actually pretty understandable why some people wouldn't like it, so that doesn't, you know... doesn't faze me, I guess. It makes sense, however you want to phrase it. Ah, I remember that stage. That terrible, terrible stage. It's time for negatives, negatives, negatives. I'm gonna again go with a no, Blade Chaval. Whoop. All of this is, of course, magically assuming we have time to replay these games, blind play these games. Reblind, whatever I came up with. Because Lord knows, if I had, you know, if I suddenly lost my memories of FF6, it's not like I would be able to just suddenly sit down and go play FF6, right? I got stuff to do. Ultimately, I think I'm just too boring of a person to really enjoy that, though. His name's Jonah. So Alex asked a question. Alex is gone now, but I'm still going to answer it. What are the chances you ever streaming on YouTube, in case Twitch actually succeeds in burning itself to the ground? So the biggest reason why I don't simulcast to Twitch and YouTube is because it's actually against my terms of service to do so. I would have no real problems with doing that. Although YouTube is an inferior streaming service in essentially every way. Like, it's kind of a pain and kind of badly designed, and the delay is atrocious, and the chat is bad. Like, just top to bottom, terrible. And the moderation tools are almost non-existent. But I would have no real problems with going ahead and switching over to streaming on YouTube if it was the only option available. I imagine my income would drop substantially for the act of doing so. Now, if YouTube and Twitch both burn themselves to the ground, suicide. Alright, next question. Meth or roller skating? Oh, obviously meth. Gotta have those drugs. Just drug me up. Let's do it. Just pull that a little bit here.
You be careful around these parts, little dragon. There be more ghosts in this here shipyard than I can shake my pick at. Darn shame, too, because I was mighty close to finding my treasure.
Cool. Well, listen, your treasure's gone. Okay, like, I hate to break it to you. I do have an account on Pornhub in case we get to the absolute worst case scenario. Because as I've said several times, and ironically, Pornhub is the only actual competitor to Twitch or YouTube. Honestly, if they have an option to have like a safe for work section, I'd probably just go ahead and flip that switch and be like, yeah, sure, pornhub.com/lowrunner.
Welcome to Frozen Altars, Spyro.
Yeah, I don't care. We're just getting some unlocks, don't mind me. Alright, what else we got here? As an addendum to the question about the hypothetical Pokemon game, what potential greedy and evil business practices are they vulnerable to, and how to prevent them in your opinion? So, tie-ins. I've actually spent some time thinking about this. And tie-ins is the answer. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. No tie-in books, no tie-in manga, no tie-in anime, no tie-in toys, no tie-in plushies. Nuke it. It's been a problem before. It is a problem recently. It's been a problem for decades. Screw it. It is just such a It has caused so many issues for so many things for so many years. My God. Yeah, as I say, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are currently suffering from the tie-in problem. Just, nuke that crap. It's not like any of that money even circles back into the games, for God's sakes. And if you don't understand why that's significant, think about it this way. Imagine your job is to do a rush job and kind of shove something together, an extremely strenuous and difficult thing to do, and your reward for that is nothing. Because you get nothing for all that stress and pain and suffering. Ahem. Zactav says, how are we doing Resident Evil 5? I have no idea. I don't even know what system's it on. I believe I was going to play the PC version, assuming such a thing exists, because I think I already own the PC version. I'm not sure about that, though. Okay. I accept.
Hi again, Spyro.
I know how this works. Thank you. Like, if you want to do tie-ins after the games are out, okay. So, real talk. This is actually a full topic here, too, because tie-ins being a plague on fiction and media is nothing new. It goes back to the movies and all that fun stuff back when licensing used to be started to become a big deal, which was literally decades ago at this point. The problem with the tie-ins thing is that it's generally accepted logic that the best time for you to do a tie-in, like merchandising or toys or a breakfast cereal, whatever else, is to do it when the movie or game in question comes out. Now, that logic is one of those surface-level logic things we've talked about before. I need to come up with a term for that at some point. It's something that on the surface seems completely logical until you actually think about it for 5 seconds and you realize that it's actually a terrible, awful idea. So, first of all, there is evidence that you're actually hindering your overall sales of both overall products by doing that immediately when it's coming out, especially if you're doing it for a product, movie, or game that isn't really proven, since you don't actually know when it's going to be doing its best sale-wise. You're just predicting that it's going to be successful and effectively gambling that it will be able to generate the sales that you're projecting. There we go, excuse me. Shallow deduction, I like that. I also like third surface think. That's a good way to put that. Anyways, so that's the first and most obvious problem, but the second is the problem that we were just talking about. If you are actively hindering the production of a movie or a game or a show or whatever in order to try and hit some artificial deadline because someone else says that they can't move the deadline of their toys because those toys have to come out at the exact right time. Like, think about that for just a second. But on top of that, the other side of that is that, and this ties into the quarterly report problem again, a lot of those toy companies or manufacturing companies or whatever are insisting on a release date of X, Y, or Z, and then demanding that the release date of the game or movie be adjusted to accommodate the tie-in merchandise, even though the assumed base logic is we need these to release at the same time. So rather than trying to negotiate and work on making sure everything's ready to go at a certain period of time, they instead deliberately go out of their way to try and change the release date. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit off topic. Point being, screw that crap. When we finally start doing lore merch, it'll come out whenever it's ready. Oh, sorry, there was one last thing there I was going to mention. It is a proven economic thing that tie-in merchandising and the like tends to sell best years after the thing in question came out. That is true with an inordinate quantity of things. It's also true that something in a franchise tends to reinvigorate interest in something that just came out. I'm saying that wrong. Franchise interest tends to go up because something just came out, which increases sales of older products. There we go, that's where I was going with that. Sorry. Pokemon's the easiest one to explain on that. Do you think... God damn it. Let me out! Let me out! Do you think that sales of Pikachu go down when a Pokemon game that does not include Pikachu comes out? I mean, that's a really broad and basic example, but I think it makes my point for me. Here we go. What's Ganger, Yura? I should have done this one second. Whatever. Well, I disagree with everything that just happened there. Wow, that was just a long turnaround. Jesus. Yeah, I don't even want to think about what the... What? What? Huh? yada yada. Anyways. Hang on. So let me catch up on questions a little bit here. Let's see. Felwreath closure because he worked for someone evil. Yes. I don't know. I've never thought about it. I still haven't thought about it. I don't really plan to think about it. I don't think it's important to think about, and even if it was, zooming in that hard is something that's going to happen in a story that I haven't even conceived of yet. The first story that's occurred for Felwreath, post whatever we're going to call that storyline, is yours. So it's kind of more like your question at this point than it is one for me. Do I think he's kept up at night, you know, for guilt over having followed what's-her-face? The Torika? Not really. But that's stuff that happened during that story arc. Also, now that you've forced me kicking and screaming to think about it, I don't think it's really his personality type to sit there and bemoan the past. Oh, I zoom in on characters all the time. I just never have for a character for a story literally never even written. Oh, pre-established character. 10 times out of 10, Jesse's Mask. Role-playing's neat and all, but I'll take a character who is actually a character 100% of the time. I agree with that. Getting rid of the Pokemon clone concept is something we probably should have done a long time ago. Like, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think we need the encouragement to trade anymore, and at this point, it's just greed. Especially now that trading is easier than it has ever been to do. Alright, now the sucky one. Let's see how bad this is, shall we? The Pokemon Bank would make more sense if they supported it more. And it applied to every generation, which of course it kind of can't. So I suppose if you change the question to in its current state, the answer is a big fat no. In my mind, the purpose of the Pokemon Bank is to be able to more easily trade Pokemon across generations. That's it. That's its purpose. If it's not fulfilling that purpose, then it doesn't have one. Of course. Although I would like you to run it by me. But that I believe that's true for literally everything, so I don't think that's actually even saying anything at that point. Like, if you decide to make him a chain-smoking, alcohol-swilling, private detective... Actually, that could work, but, you know, we still need to talk about it, you know? What does a bird smoke? These are the questions that keep me up at night. You know, honestly, I don't think I've ever done a noir story, so yeah, I'm pretty sure there is no noir extant. But there should be. The problem is, and I talked about this during the Max Payne 2 run, I can't just do noir off the top of my head. It doesn't flow. So I would need someone else to actually write it for me. First try. Oh, dude. Over-the-top noir is exactly where it's at, Evo. That's what noir really needs. Actually, I don't know if Pikachu is in Scarlet and Violet, which I suppose makes my point for me, Shiny Toki. Arceus is technically a side game, but whether that counts or not, well, I lack the ability to judge because I haven't played Arceus. Alright, so where is he? Where are you, moron? Hey, moron.
Look out, Spyro. There's a really big sheep UFO around here, and it's trying to get me.
Why are sheep aliens?
And now it wants revenge.
Why are sheep aliens?
You wait here. I'll lure the UFO down the river of honey. Okay, here I go.
Oh my god. Oh my god, this controls terribly. Oh my god. Oh my god. God, it's Animorphs on the GB all over again. Wow. Hey, UFO guy, you realize you can fly, right?
Aha! Did you see that? Nobody outraces a cheetah. And look, I didn't even drop the egg.
Oh. Speaking of which, Jesse's Mask, I'm going to give a negative to every Pokemon game that doesn't include old Pokemon in it. 100%. Any questions? I misread that completely, Taquata. I thought you said Rogue Trader released about a week ago, and I was about to be like, what? 50 negatives, Jesse's Best. 50! 100! There's no end to the negatives we can give. Anyway, sorry. Do I think Batman could take Wesker down? Yes. Do I prefer blank... Oh, actually... So I didn't actually finish answering this question. Do I prefer blank slate in RPGs or pre-established character? So, okay. It actually was Jesse's Mask. It is literally something that we had a multi-hour discussion on and finally decided in the line of, we're going to go ahead and give it a negative. Here's the problem with a blank slate character. You've effectively increased your workload by an enormous amount to make the blank slate character part of the narrative, because the narrative cannot accommodate for what that character is, unless it reduces the amount of gameplay. As we've talked about, the more choices the player has, the less gameplay is feasible to tack on top of that. Going back into the days of the old CRPGs is a good example of that. But in more modern terms, something like choices of is probably as good as you're going to get, and that's straight up text, with regards to actually acknowledging your choices. So, what tends to happen, and I've talked about this before, is you've got a dog on a leash, right? So you're determining the path of the story, and the dog can veer here and there, and yes, I did steal this idea. The dog can veer a bit, but ultimately the dog can only go so far away from the narrative, because you have to kind of limit what they can do and where they can go and all that fun stuff, in order for the story to even, like, exist. Now, what some games do, and I can name two off the top of my head, both of which are JRPGs, in order to get around this, is they make the main character irrelevant to the story. They are a passenger, a viewer of the story. They're not the protagonist. They're not forming connections. They don't have character arcs. They are not a character. Persona 5 and Final Fantasy XIV are both examples of this. In both cases, you are playing a non-character who happens to be the person you are controlling with said controller. But in practical terms, if you were to eject them from the narrative, very little would change. Now, you could argue that in one direction or another, but you get my overall point. That's the compromise that a lot of game developers have come up with. You can project whatever personality you want onto them, but you're on the rails because you're not really a participant in the narrative.
Hi, Spyro.
So who likes spiders? So, that goes back to what I was mentioning earlier, Evo. Dragon Age Origins is arguably probably the exception that proves the rule. Because Dragon Age Origins is a CRPG, and had a ludicrously long and expensive and costly development cycle, and frankly, I'm going to say this as nicely as I can, should not be anywhere near as good of a game as it is. And it's still a pretty problematic game. It just happens to be an amazing game. But Dragon Age Origins pulls the same thing that Planescape Torment pulls, which pulls the same thing that Baldur's Gate pulls. You have a bit more malleability on what you choose, because of good writing, for lack of a better way to phrase that. And an onerous amount of additional content. I've talked about this before. Even to this day, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how many weird, unusual situations can happen in Dragon Age Origins specifically, because they had to accommodate for so much player choice, and that massively ballooned development time and costs, because there's a lot of things you can do. Like, a lot. Yeah, no, it's insane, Blade Cheval. deal with the oncoming spider swarm, speaking of Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins also pulls a trick that most of the older CRPGs do. One way or another, generally speaking, you're still doing the main plot. You may do it begrudgingly. You may do it unwillingly. You may do it because you believe in the cause. You may do it because you're selfless. You may do it because you're evil. But you're still doing the main plot, right? The reason that's relevant is because what that means is you're not truly making that kind of choice. It's not a truly branching narrative kind of a game. Instead, what it is it's a choose your flavor kind of a game. You're always the Warden in Dragon Age Origins, and you're always going to save Ferelden. But how you're doing it, that's the malleability right there. It's actually something I praise the hell out of in Dragon Age Origins specifically, is that the specific responses you can give will pretty much always boil down to, yes, I will do, oh, Jesus, yes, I will do this quest. But you can decide what flavor of your character is based on how they decide to be willing to do that quest. Yeah, truly branching games do exist, and they're awesome when we find them, but they are a rarity, and for good reason. The reason I brought up the text adventure thing just a minute ago. That's funny, since the whole point of a text adventure game is to allow for branching narrative. Like, that's the core purpose of doing that, right? So, whatever. I don't think anybody really enjoys sneezing. This is when someone in chat's like, I enjoy sneezing. And I just look at you weird. Really? Oh, Jesus, boss time. Ow. Ow! Ooh, that hurt. Yeah. Feels like I'm playing StarCraft 2. I never did beat those stages too. That didn't hit me. No, these aren't negative worthy. Best private detectives in fiction. Max Payne, obviously. Yes, Mr. Red, absolutely. Without question, the definition of a negative. Reduces my enjoyment of the work. Let's see. Yeah, not Tex Murphy. Booker DeWitt. You know what? I'll go with that. And let's see. For our third option, we'll go with... How do you go up here?
The sorceress has a real prize on her hands here. It took 24 Rhinox to capture this dim-witted furball, so you'd better believe he's not going to get out cheap. Very well, then. I was having a rather good time poking him with a stick anyway. Where are you getting all this money, Spyro? It's not just lying around on the ground, is it? Is it? Ah, what do I care? It's mine now.
The first rejuvenating breath of freedom. With the humility of a wounded sparrow, I genuflect to my noble deliverer.
You're welcome.
It was no big deal, dude.
Yes. After all, it was I who let you out.
Why, you brazenly avaricious, duplicitous, larcenous ursine.
Now hold on.
Aw, show us.
One more, perhaps?
At least.
Please do afford me the sublime honor of enjoying your visitation in the nearest future.
Yeah, sure.
I do love that quote. While you blatantly avaricious, duplicitous, larcenous ursine.
I will gladly help you on your quest, Spyro, but first I must attend to my young sibling. I'm afraid he may have gotten himself into trouble during my absence.
So, we can smash things.
Bro, it'd be really cool if you smashed that boulder. A swift smack should do the trick.
Interesting music. I mean, isn't that how it's supposed to work, Jesse's Mask? I've played RPGs. I don't know how this one goes. Let's hit the... We should have an RPG someday. where you literally just hit the local prison to recruit party members. Like, yeah, I'll take that one, that one. That one's chewing on his own foot. I think that's going to be a winner. I know it's Zalok. You secretly know my terrible, terrible backstory. Wow, you can mash that sucker. Look at that. That probably shouldn't have worked. And I probably don't care. Anyways, has Felwreath been in contact with the Bastion before this mission? I'm gonna make you decide that. Because I'm pure evil. See, Bragwin gets it. Kiryu was like, I know in your heart. You're not a bad person. And then he beats the crap out of, like, everyone in the prison, who are all secretly, openly evil.
If you use your spin move to deflect the snowball into the gong, I bet we can make the roof cave in.
That's a roundabout way of doing that, but okay. Oh, you're... okay. What? It's a perfectly valid answer, Evo. You've kind of taken over the character anyways. It's your character now. Rose? Hang on, now I'm curious if Dream Whisper's idea is going to work here. Yeah, I don't think so. Evo's over there doing the dramatic pose. This is my story. Oh no, you know what it would be? I'd be in an Ace Attorney game. As someone Phoenix is actually defending. Which, actually, that's not terribly far from the truth. Phoenix is excellent at his job. Except when the plot needs him to not be. I love how they just wildly lunge forward with flame. Like, we're gonna stop. Oh, we're dead. Okay. I have no idea, Act. That guy's throwing up the horns. Yada asks, is it worth invading other worlds for their mutton? Yes, mutton is always worth invading people over. Remember, if another nation has mutton, you have a carte blanche, 100%, no questions asked right to invade them. Cause war and devastation on a galactic scale, if necessary. Because mutton is delicious. Now, if they have bacon, whoa. But yes, to jump into what Zalok has been talking about, and I've been kind of ignoring for a minute. By nature, the review system kind of takes into account how good the game is, and not how unique the game is. Because, that sounds so weird to say that out loud, because it sounds like I'm making a joke, but I'm really not. I am more interested in a game that is good than a game that is unique. Unique games are still valuable. In fact, we kind of require them, both as a species and as like an industry and as players. But, as Takoida points out, if a game is both good and unique, then it gets even more positives. It is possible to be unique and good. I know. Shocking. The reason I bring this up, though, is games that tend to score very high are not very innovative games, usually. They're just very polished games. And that's by design. Zalok brought up Mega Man 5, which is probably the perfect example that it's one of the most polished Mega Man games, but it doesn't do anything new whatsoever. It's just peak classic Mega Man, and that's kind of that. This is also why X1 rates so damn highly.
Thanks, bro. Here's a little something for your rock collection.
I honestly didn't mean to smash him, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, we've talked about this a lot lately. Okami is a recent example of a game that's more unique than good. I can think of other examples. We recently talked about Star Wars Rebellion, for example. The most unique, worst game I've played, Psychonauts 1 come to mind immediately. Psychonauts 1 comes to mind immediately. But other than that... Oh, I agree, Zalok. It's always something that needs to be mentioned. And I usually make it a point of putting a little blurb somewhere, being like, hey, this is worth it for the experience, if nothing else. Just, you know, that doesn't mean it's going to translate into a good score. Yeah, Outer Wilds. Thank you. Good example. Outer Wilds is a game that didn't score well, and frankly, I stand behind that, because I don't think it's that good of a game. I know a lot of people hate me for that opinion, and I don't care. It is my legitimate opinion. However, I still absolutely recommend you give Outer Wilds a try, because it's a very unique game, and it's worth experiencing, at least once. In fact, someday I actually plan to have my sister sit down, blind, and actually play Outer Wilds just because I'm curious of her reaction to the first cycle. %. honestly, Jesse's Mask, and the older I get, the more I think this is true. I think more people prefer unique to good. I think I'm actually in the minority on that one. I was telling Mr. Red about this recently, because we were talking about Final Fantasy VI. FF6, which is probably my favorite game of all time, is not a unique game at all. It is, in fact, one of the definitions of iterative game design, because FF1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 all led into 6. It is a very, very polished experience, but it's nothing new. It still sits pretty much at the top of my list because it is a very polished, well-crafted, amazingly designed game. And the story has something to do with that too, but you get my overall point. I guess we're just, yeah, we're just doing this now, aren't we? Chrono Trigger is also not a unique game at all. Chrono Trigger is very much a pretty much bog standard textbook example of a JRPG. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, Dragon Quest XI is a bog standard game. That doesn't make that a bad thing. FF7 was trying a couple of new things, but is ultimately still just an iteration on the Final Fantasy format. One of the things I've complained about mightily is how the FF series wants to reinvent itself every now and again, but that actually is a more recent trend. Recent as of the 90s. But that really got started with FF7 and started gaining steam with FF8, which is when they finally started trying to make the FF games more unique, rather than constantly trying to polish the existing format. Right. That's what I'm doing. I knew there was something specific I was trying to do.
Thank you ever so much for opening the emergency bridge, Spyro.
Nice shorts. So what video game food would I want to eat most? I'm going to open this up to the floor, too, if anybody wants to answer this. Now, the default answer is anything from WoW. But ignoring that...
A fine day for a bit of a walk. I was just heading to the top of my favourite hill.
Honestly, the curry and coffee from Persona 5, I'm kind of with you on that. Yeah, a lot of the food in FF15. I also specifically agree with Arc Wine in WoW. Although I'd be curious how literally mana wine interacts with a normal human body.
Hey, I think I saw some Rhinox run up to the top of that hill with an egg.
Honestly, I've noticed the food porn thing is pretty common in Japanese games. I don't mind because, you know, it looks good, and the only reason I mind is because it makes me hungry. One of these days, I will join my friend in having gone to Japan and eaten Japanese food in Japan. Along with a lot of other places, obviously. It's just... Japan's kind of first on that list. That's an interesting question. Where would I go second for food? Ooh, that's a tough one. I've actually had Mexican food in Mexico before. It's pretty much the only foreign food I've had in a foreign nation. I was thinking India. For my second foreign food tour. Oh, come back. Oh God, Loner. Oh, Italy. Ooh, Italy. I was thinking France, too. So I don't know how true this is, because I've never been to France. But I was talking to a chef once about French food, and the discussion boiled down to... A lot of people, when they think of French food, they think of weird, excessively fancy food. But in that chef's opinion, and that's why I'm adding that proviso, I don't know how true this is, French food means eggs. Just eggs. In fact, you want to see something funny, check this out. I'll be right back. This will not take me long. Enjoy the rapping music, I guess? I don't know. So my brother-in-law got me this. I don't know if you can see it. Hang on, let me pull up the thing here. It is a French recipe book. Big old sucker, as you can see. I've already figured out. So you see this portion of the book? This portion right here is eggs. Just this. The rest of it is like shellfish and I don't know what else. Shellfish, poultry, meat, pastry, and dessert. But this massive section is just various eggs dishes. A lot of them involve cheese as well. I think I mentioned probably a couple of years ago at this point, becoming aware of how much of an awesome thing it is to eat eggs. This book I'm holding right now was a decent part of understanding that. There is an onion flan? How do you make onion flan? I mean, it says how to make it. It's right here. Anyways. So yeah, I would absolutely want to try out French food, Italian food, German food. Swedish food. I want to try out Swedish food. It's another one. I actually have the Warcraft cooking book. It's a really good cooking book. Like, surprisingly good. It also looks gorgeous, as Yura mentioned. They've got a lot of really nice artwork and usage thereof to try and sell the fictional version of the dish that you're making a real-life version of cooking. That sentence was terrible, but I think you understand. South American cuisine. No. I'm good. Oh, the Warcraft book. I've cooked most of the things from the Warcraft book at this point. But I will admit, nowadays, I tend to value specific types of recipes, stuff that takes very little time and produces a large amount of food that can then reheat easily. And that's really important to me, because, duh, right? Time. Give me the egg! No hard feelings, right? Alright. Now let's do the terrible stage. Hi, Jay Palmer. Do I like mussels? I don't think I've ever had mussels.
You be careful round these parts, little dragon. There be more ghosts in this here shipyard than I can shake my pick at. Darn shame, too, because I was mighty close to finding my treasure.
Dude, dragon eggs have got to be delicious. Think about it. Although, I guess that depends. Has anyone ever had ostrich eggs? Because I haven't. Oh, I love Brussels sprouts. Oh, I could eat those every day, Blade of all. Wow, those guys take a lot of hits. I mean, I don't really do seafood nowadays, but back when I lived on the coast, I still wasn't particularly big on seafood. And my mother, she loves fish tacos, so...
I reckon my treasure be this away. But we'll have to blast through this bloomin' ship to get to it.
You know, Ect, I agree. 3D art in any game ever made ever is inherently bad. Now, I know that's not what you were saying, or even what you were mocking, but I've actually heard people give that opinion before. Now, ironically, the opinion I tend to hear more often is that 2D art is inherently bad and can never be good. Well, my niece loves broccoli and has since she was very little, Yura, but that's obviously very anecdotal. I mean, the early push for 3D was awful for everything that did it. Whether that's still true, the early PS1 and the early N64 games kind of sucked, in my opinion. And I thought that back then, and I think that now. As I've said before, the number of N64 games I'd say are legitimately great games is really small. That's a good question, Yura, and that's getting into a definitions argument I'm not sure I want to get into. But anyways, you know. I don't mind blocky 3D, depending on what they do with it. I've actually given the opinion before that I think FF7 doesn't look that bad, but that's almost entirely based on how they animate it. The animations are what sell FF7, not the blocks, for me. Oh yeah, speaking of which, you want to see an actual early 3D game that looks good? Quake. I know, it's very, very brown, but there's still a lot of visual design in that game that modern games could learn from. The most recent vector graphics game? Oh, geez, I don't know. Probably some indie game that did it, you know, deliberately.
Oh, look at that! Some fool hid a daggum egg in my treasure.
One of these days, we're going to review Quake. You're going to see why I praise that game so much. Quake is another one of those simple but good games. Yes, the original Quake. Not Quake 2, not Quake 3, which we'll never review. Definitely not Quake 4. Ditto. Okay. Quake 3 is why you think Quake is a multiplayer-only game. Because Quake 3 is a multiplayer-only game. And I'm pretty sure Quake 4 is too. I shouldn't say that so definitively, but I fell out of the franchise because they decided to make the Dooms the single-player games, and the Quakes the multiplayer games. But Quake 1 and 2 were still your, traditional single-player experience. Campaigns, even story. Don't look up what Strogification is. The horror, as they say. I do recommend Quake 1. And I would say I also recommend Quake 2, overall. I will admit I am less familiar with Quake 2, though, so asterisk on top of that. Yeah, the Strog. Unreal Tournament is multiplayer only, and therefore something we'll never review, which is a shame, because it would review quite well. Unreal Tournament was legit. And much better than Quake 3, while we're on the subject.
Spyro! You're just in time! A Rhinox skateboard gang's challenged us to a race. They said you're slower than a molten crater fire slug. I stuck up for you, though. I told them I've seen some pretty fast fire slugs.
Thanks, Hunter.
So, are you ready to race these guys? They bet us an egg that you won't win. Right on! You can use my special racing board. Every time you do a trick, it builds up.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Oh, it's a race. I love races. Let's get the gems first, because that's more important than winning. By the way, if you don't get the joke, the reason I say Unreal Tournament is better than Quake 3 is because that was the big competition back in the day. Which was the best, multiplayer FPS? Quake 3 or Unreal Tournament. And you're probably thinking it's Tribes, in which case you get a gold star for even getting that reference.
What happened? I can beat these guys. All right.
Okay, so I think we've gotten all but a couple of the gems. In fact, literally 2. Let's try to actually win this time. So you want... Speaking of Pokemon Scarlet Violet, I'm going to go ahead and be proud of my niece for a second. So one of the things I started doing last year, and I've already talked about this on camera, is I've started giving her money that she can spend on whatever she wants to, rather than buying her stuff directly. Because I want her to be more involved in the process, and I want her to think about what she wants, and fiscal responsibility, yada, yada, yada. How are you supposed to make that jump? As part of that, she decided, with the money she currently has sitting in her account, so to speak, not to buy Pokemon Scarlet and Violet immediately. Now, you're probably thinking, what, because it's buggy? No, because she has other games she's currently playing. So she's going to wait until she's at a point in time in which she, you know, is not currently busy. Then she'll go ahead and buy a new game. Well, right now she plays Minecraft more than anything else, but she's got a few on the list. Oh, it's a great answer, Act. Like I said, I'm actually proud of her. Like, legitimately. Oh god, we're in a loop. We're getting lapped, even. Yeah, so I have no idea how you're supposed to do any of this. Still trying to figure it out. Because, like, I do not know how to make that jump. And I need to, because there's gems up there. Wow, that was a terrible thing. Okay, so you're gonna have to describe something for me here, Kay. You say you scrolled down on the website to find the button. Please explain exactly why you felt the need to scroll down to find the Q button, which is at the very top of the website. Like, let's try and reverse engineer what the heck is going wrong here exactly. Actually, I do have an idea. Actually, I have an idea for both things, but you know. Oh, you scrolled down below the Twitch to find lorerunner.com. The hardest URL to remember in the history of URL design. Cannot argue. Well, we got the gems. Now we're just missing one other gem. The idea worked, at least. I just need a bunch of boost. I mean, that's valid feedback, but there's quite literally nothing I can do about that, Kay. It's impossible for me to change how Twitch does its button layouts. I am not in charge of Twitch. I literally can't do anything about that, I'm sorry. Oh, Jesus. And that should be all the gems here. Yeah. Sorry, Evo. Don't get me wrong, there's something nice about getting a gift. Whoa! That was buggy. He actually boosted me, if you were paying attention there. Anyways. Ahem. What was I talking about? Oh, right. There's something nice about getting a gift, especially a custom gift, like a bespoke gift, if you will. But I've noticed that the older you get, the more valuable it is to just get money. It's fungible.
Like a bunch of dizzy one-toed sand norks. Oh yeah, I guess we won this egg too. Now that the Rhinox are gone, do you want to try a real challenge? I know you're fast, but I bet you can't defeat all the crabs on the course and still beat me in a race. Want to give it a shot? All right.
But whatever. I have no idea, Yura. Now that would be funny. Someday we'll reach the point where loot boxes are just boxes filled with cash, so you pay to open a random selection of cash. Okay, I am getting some boost. Screw it up. Yeah. Damn it, game. Come on. Well, no, it would be scratch tickets if you always got less than you put into... Oh. Damn it! Good morning, Spartan. Well, that's... Yep, that's game.
Oh.
Slowly starting to hate this song. Like, bit by bit, you know? Correct, Spartan. We have not reviewed God of War 4 under the current system. Why? I don't understand why this only works sometimes. Jesus, there. We got the stupid one. Actually, it is, Jay Palmer. Yeah, nobody likes God of War 4. Or God of War 5, apparently. I wonder if this homes at all. Nope. No, Trihexia. There's only 3 reasons I'll buy a video game. Sale or otherwise. For the show. Obvious. Because I want to support them, or because I actually want to play it. Usually a co-op thing. It was an interesting stream, Bella. Filled with people yelling at me. I mean, that's not true. All that happened in the comments section. Well, crap, I didn't land that.
Sheesh, I can't believe you beat me. You must have been practicing the whole time while I thought you were just looking for eggs. Hey, speaking of which, one of those crabs was guarding this one. You might be able to beat me at skateboarding, but I'd still win in a popularity contest.
Citation needed. Do I have a policy on early access games? So, I'm hesitant to add early access games to the list, but as far as personally, I'll only ever buy an early access game if I'm specifically doing so to support the developer, which is an extraordinarily rare case. It does happen. It is something that is a real thing. I bought 30XDX, for example, or Astro Colony. Both of those I bought because I like what they're doing and I want them to finish the game. But I did it in both cases with the full knowledge that what I was effectively doing was funding development, not expecting a full game experience at the time. I'm glad you liked it, Spartan. I kind of hated it. It's rare that I have to work that hard to maintain my temper while streaming. So I'm glad I at least did a decent enough job to make the stream still entertaining, despite the fact that I wanted to punch something. There was a lot of backseating. But there is something else, too, which is a pet peeve of mine. Not a real peeve. But it still irritates the ever-living snot out of me. It's when someone pops in and says, "Oh, did you know this extremely well-known and common fact that everybody knows about this game?" Well, here, let me tell you about it. In Steve's voice. So you see, there's this thing called a hunter, right? Now, hunters, what you gotta do is you gotta make sure to feed your animal. Otherwise, the beast will eventually walk away and you'll lose in the middle of a raid. That's not good. Also, you gotta understand that a hunter has a ranged weapon. So with the ranged weapon, you gotta be able to try and make sure you fight your enemies at something that's other than a melee range. It's kind of hard to get used to, but you'll get used to it. I get that people are just enthusiastic and want to share knowledge and or enthusiasm about a game. I get that. I try not to be irritated by it, but it still irritates the piss out of me. Loot the boss. I know! That was Nox, those of you who weren't there for that. Although, in fairness, since I am very anti-loot, that was valid advice to give. Alright. So we're gonna hit this button, because I'm not gonna subject you to, like, 40 seconds or whatever that nonsense. Yeah, last time I played this, I don't know if you were there for that, Valvedrix, I hated this level. I am a loot snob, it's true. I turned my nose up at loot, like, no. So that was $100. So, whoop, too loud. Sorry, I was at my volume. Thank you, Shadow Machine, very much. I do always appreciate that support. Thank you very, very much. I wasn't trying to e-bag. Oh, dude, the sniper rifle in Halo 4 is awesome. God, that thing was just joy in a gun. And you can just hear the echo for a solid 10 seconds after you shot it. God, that thing was amazing. Oh, God, don't tell me that, Blade Traval. The Borderlands problem. I had to check. I had to make sure that my keyboard was still there. Okay. We're good. Keyboard is still here. It's going towards God of War 4 and God of War 5. Okay. Back to the terrible level. Alright. In all honesty, this level... So the issue I had with it last time, and the issue I'm still kind of having with it this time, is visual distinction. It's actually really, really small. Smaller than most of these levels. But the way it's designed doesn't inform... Like, there's not a lot of good landmarks. And it doesn't inform what is where or what you've done in what order. Especially since things, in many cases, have to be reached from a certain way. Let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say that I wanted to go back up here. Well, sucks to be me. In order to get back up there, I have to go the long way around. So if I miss anything up there, I have to go the long way around and hope I remember which direction I'm going in order to get back up there. That was the big issue I had last time. There are ways... That's a good point. I should flip that. There are ways to keep track of that sort of thing. And I am trying to pay more attention than I did last time in order to limit the amount of time we spent here, but I do think it is an issue with the design of the level. It's a shame, because this feels like this could be a really cool level. It just isn't. Alright, so, let's do this. Kill the Voichels. Die monsters, you don't belong in this world, yada yada yada. There's now 3 Yadas. We're upgrading. Camera. Camera. There you go. Let's see. Questions. Favorite enemy design so far in Spyro? In all of Spyro? Honestly, I'm going to go with the big tongue Rhinoc guy that I did the clip on both times I've played this game in Spyro 3. He's just really memorable. Yeah, I want to know why he's so happy about smushing a dragon. Does he not know? Does he not understand? Jesus, okay, hang on. Nope, a little too low. Go that way. Alright, let's see. What's the... Is Twitch chat generally better than YouTube comments? If yes, do you have any theory to why? So let's go ahead and start with the obvious answer. Yes. Twitch chat is absolutely better than YouTube comments, and in my experience always has been. We still got bots and irritants in Twitch, but really infrequently, to be completely blunt. And there are many ways to prevent those bots or assholes from even showing up on Twitch chat. Methods which we have been using for many years at this point. Quite successfully, I feel like pointing out. By contrast, in YouTube, the best defense you have is to see that the comment came in, and then to block or ban them at the moment of which, or delete the comment, whatever you choose. But the reason why is very, very simple. In my opinion, this is pure theory, okay? Hang on. Oh, come on. Oh god, can you imagine if this had ammo? Okay, so there's that one. Let's see if we can get this one. A little higher. A little higher. It's too high. There we go. That's how they do it, There's actually a term for that, and I can't remember what it is. It's when you deliberately shoot a shell to find your range. And the whole point is you're not supposed to hit that first shot. That's just to give you your aiming. Then the second shot's supposed to hit. That's true in naval warfare, too. Anyways. Should do this. So, hang on. Let me rewind here a little bit. So, Evo asks, are Twitch comments better than YouTube, and if so, why? So the answer is yes. One of the biggest and most obvious answers to why is because of the fact that, as I just mentioned, sorry for the repetition, but this is for the highlight reel, it's easier to moderate. There's a lot more moderation tools on Twitch than there are on YouTube. This is ironic, since anybody who knows anything about anything knows that Twitch spam and Twitch harassment are very real problems. It's still better than YouTube, because YouTube's moderation tools are garbage. But the more important reason, and I think the biggest reason, really, is because of something I talked about earlier, which I believe is in the highlight reel, but whether it is or not, it's the idea of investment. If you have carte blanche to request A, B, or C infinitely without any hesitation, then what you're going to request is something you're probably putting less time or thought into. By contrast, if you actually think about it for a bit and have, some kind of limitation, like, for example, having to pay for a stream, like you do on my channel, then there's a higher chance that you actually give a damn about the thing that is being requested. Same thing with comments. You have to go out of your way to comment on a Twitch channel. You have to seek out that particular level of engagement. It doesn't just happen. Now, on YouTube, anybody for any reason can pop into a YouTube video, not watch the video, and leave some random nonsense comment that may or may not have anything to do with the video in question. There is a substantially lower barrier to entry in leaving a comment on YouTube than there is on Twitch, ironically. So, yeah, YouTube gets more random people who are not invested, whereas on Twitch, by sheer virtue of the fact that you have bothered to watch and follow and are engaged in the stream to some extent or another, there's a better chance that anything you're going to say is something you've thought about more, and that's going to weed out people who are just randos. Because randos and lack of anonymity does tend to lead to an increase in toxicity pretty much linearly. I'm going to go ahead and try for this. Oh, yeah.
These here waters used to be my favorite diving spot, but I can't get any loot with these subs patrolling around. Think you can pilot this here sub I bought for scrap?
Sure.
Alrighty then. Press the jump button to speed on up, and when you get a sub on your sights, the torpedo will start to lock on. If you get a good lock on, fire away with the attack button.
Sure. Meanwhile, Evo wasn't there to hear any of that. We might finish this today. I'm not really anticipating it, though. We'll definitely finish it by tomorrow, though. Don't worry, we'll get to Bard's Tale, I swear.
You got some mean sub-driving skills. Why don't you have this here egg as a reward?
I do lack rewards. At least part of the delay, if you could call it that, is because we've been 100%ing them. Like, I'm pretty sure we could zoom through this game if we wanted to. Especially since I'm pretty sure that's what we did last time. Well, we're dead.
Well, I hate to ask your help again. There'll be even more subs that don't come out of nowheres. If you could darn tootin'.
Sure. Possibly Evo, but again, there are toxic, horrible, evil people on Twitch, and there are decent people on YouTube. So I'm not sure how much validity there is to that idea. I'm not saying that to shoot your idea down, I'm saying I literally don't have the data to work on there. I also have to acknowledge that I'm probably not a good taste study there, because my audience is some of the most wholesome and legit people on the internet. Like, I talk about dealing with assholes, but I don't deal with actually toxic stuff the overwhelming majority of times. Like, the worst thing I've had to deal with is this one individual I'm saying this wrong. In recent times, how do I structure the sentence? I haven't had to deal with actually horrible people for the most part for a couple of years. There's just been this one asshole who I keep reporting because they're actually toxic. And that's about as bad as it's gotten. One person on YouTube. I actually had to warn my mods about them, just in case they decide to poke their head in at any point in time, because, yeah.
At last, the acid lake is safe for swimming again. I wish I could reward you better, but all I got's left is this here other egg. Maybe there'll be something better in this one.
Yeah, no, it's actually funny, because one of the biggest defenses one of the biggest defenses that toxic people tend to give for being toxic is, well, you don't want to be an echo chamber. And that's, I'm sure you've heard that before, right? Where someone who is being toxic, if you threaten to ban them or whatever, it's like, oh, they're just creating an echo chamber. Or worse, they tend to do that, like, it's this whole psychological manipulation thing, because they do this preemptive thing where, oh, they're just going to ban me, and that's just going to prove that I'm right. And they do that, and then your mind, which is naturally contrarian by its very existence, tends to think, oh no, I better not ban them, because that would be proving them right. But that's not how that works. That's the trick. You see someone toxic, you ban their ass, because they're being a toxic asshole. Now, I will freely admit, it actually took me a while to learn that lesson. In general, but especially with regards to the show. There's a little bit of... I'm not gonna make it. Not gonna make it. There's a little bit of, It's true, Yada! It's so true. I don't know, it's a little bit of confidence, I think is the word I actually want to use there. I know that sounds like a weird word to use, but what I mean by that is... their argument holds no weight other than the weight you are willing to give it. Right? If you are willing to think, oh god, this horribly evil, messed up, screwed up, toxic, deranged, asshole, dick, Rule Zero violator, whatever it is, person, is valid, then you have created the reality that their comment is now valid. If you do not... did you donate? I didn't even see a donation come in. There it is. Give me a moment. If you allow their comment to be valid, then they have effectively won, and you have gone ahead and created the situation and environment which they wanted to begin with. Now, yeah, it also pretty much signals that you are open game for anybody else who wants to be a dick in a similar manner, and plenty of people will gang up on you like that. By contrast, if you have confidence in yourself, you can confidently say, no, their argument is stupid and a fallacy. They do not actually have any validity in what they're saying. The only reason they're saying it is to be a dick. For example, just because I've decided not to listen to a toxic person does not mean I'm not willing to listen to people who do not agree with me. One of the most common types of arguments I tend to hear in favor of, you know, those kinds of people, right? And there's actually another layer to that, too. Even if they are actually right about their point, it doesn't excuse their behavior. It doesn't excuse them being the way they are being. Whether you have a valid point or not does not change the core issue. Or, to put this into very simple terminology, you're not being banned because you disagree with me, and you're not being banned because you're right or wrong. You're being banned because you violated Rule 0. The end. Sorry, I wanted to get all that out, Dream Whisperer, because we were in the middle of a highlight clip there. So thank you, Dream Whisperer. I will shut that down. Shot that down? I will jot that down and shoot that down for lower decks. Apparently this... Yeah, my hair is so terrible, you wouldn't even know. Actually, you want to hear something really, really stupid? I I shave pretty regularly, but I've actually changed my shaving schedule so that I have just a little bit of fuzz, so it's like scritchy, like it's got that specific texture to it, every Sunday. Why? Because that way, my littlest niece, who really likes the texture of it, will go and just... like, she gets fascinated with it. Why do I need to shave? Because hair sucks. And it's evil. It's death. You know what really grinds my gears? People whose gears are grinded. Okay, so now I need to get up there. How do I get up there? So sure, let's talk about the hair. I'll make it a highlight reel, why not? So for those of you who never heard this story, once upon a time, I was deathly ill. I don't say that facetiously. You notice my tone has changed here to indicate there's no memeing and there's no joking. I was on the verge of death, and in fact was at a state where I could have died basically any day. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I found that out later, after I got into a hospital and had them actually look at me, but that was the state I was in. Now, during that period of time, I was in such an onerous amount of pain that I don't actually have words to describe it to you. If you ever wonder why I say, with a little bit of bragging, that I have a high pain tolerance, it's because I know I have a high pain tolerance. So, in that state, oh my god, it resealed the... Hey, do you see that? What? In that state, any kind of movement outside of a very, very limited range of movement was causing me to have tremendous pain. Now, that, as a side note, anybody who has long hair knows, long hair requires maintenance. Even for something as simple and basic as sleeping, for example. So, the rather banal answer for why the hair went away was because it was causing me a tremendous amount of pain. Damn it. So, with not a lot of other options or alternatives, I shaved it all down. This right here is extremely easy to deal with and allows me to not have any neck issues or pain issues or whatever. So that's the original reason why I did it. It stayed shaved because, well, first of all, because regrowing that much hair is going to take me absolutely forever, but second, and arguably more importantly, it became kind of a symbol to me. Go ahead, make fun, it's okay, I deserve it. But it became a sign of the fact that I was, you know, deathly ill and not in a good place in my life and not recovered. Since I'm one of those extremely weird people who tends to associate hair with some kind of symbolic significance, as opposed to just being a cosmetic choice. At least for myself. So I kept it shaved. Of course, the other reason I shave is because I look damn good without hair, but, you know. Anyways. Sorry. I know this is kind of wasting time at this point, but I have already made this shot. I just need to make it again. Oh no, I've wanted to grow it out many times. In fact, I want to grow it out right now. Oh my god, I've got to be missing it by inches at this point. No, the first time I used this Canon. And apparently the deaths resealed the box or whatever. There it goes. You might wonder why did I bother with that? Well, aside from just proving that I could, this is why. So, Constantine, right? I agree with low wisdom. That is definitely... Constantine... Yeah, down? Jeez. See, I don't agree with that, Bella, but I'll take the compliment. One of these days I'll have the hair I want. Right about when I invent the cybernetics to make that happen. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's in the green. Alright. I would say Constantine probably has a pretty high int score. Below average strength, below average dexterity, and below average constitution. He's not much for physicality, that's not his shtick. Charisma's a weird one. Because charisma can mean a lot of different things in real-life application. I would say Constantine, at the very least, has above average charisma. I'm not sure how much above average, just definitely above average. No, Yura. Although, ironically, a lot of people I know in real life shave now. And all of them started shaving after I did. And I'm not saying they copied me, but I'm not saying it. Ironically, that includes my sister, who also keeps her hair short. Although she does that mostly for practical reasons. See, exactly. Raven King gets it, and someday I won't be a plebeian anymore. I'm joking. If I want to be real for like 5 seconds, I actually believe, it feels like a weird way to phrase it, I'm very strongly in concepts of identity. And identity can and is a lot of different things from different people, right? Some people adhere their identity to a sports team, or a franchise, or a political party, or a nation, or a color, or a creed, right? No judgment here, it's just that's what people do. One of the things I tend to adhere my identity towards, among many others, of course, is my hair. When I think of myself in my head, I still see, if that makes any sense, the long hair. The very, very long hair, which I'm not even sure I ever properly showed off on camera because it got quite long, like middle of back length at a certain point. And so, at a point in my life in which I'm able to have long hair the way I want to, I'm going to have long hair. That's me, right? That probably is at least in part because I've been that way as long as I can remember. Even when I was a kid, I had long hair. It just wasn't as well kept. Okay, so it wants me to go here. How do I get here? So I need to go... okay. So most of my ancestry is either German, Romanian, Eastern European. I guess it's actually a better way to phrase that. Let me rewind this a little bit. So for the longest time, I thought I was part Russian, part Romanian, part German, and part Lebanese. More recent looking into that has diffused several of those, to the point where I'm not actually even sure where in Eastern Europe some of my family comes from. So, somewhere in Eastern Europe. Pretty vague, because that's all I got. Okay, so I need to come up earlier, don't I? Much earlier, jeez Louise. So, somewhere in Eastern Europe, probably we literally don't have the records to prove it one way or the other. We have only recently been able to track down the individual who is Lebanese. It's one gentleman. It's on my father's side. And it's his grandfather. So my great-grandfather on my father's side is from Lebanon. Straight up. But almost everything else is apparently straight up German. Go figure. That's the big reveal. Not a lot of people on my mother's side even knew that we had that much German blood going on. There we go. Well, see, the funny thing is, most of that Ancestry... God, it's actually really complicated and involves some family drama, but the long and the short of it is that me and my mother and my grandmother all thought that we were relatively recent to the States, and we found out that that's only half true. That the other half of our family has been in the States for a very long time. Like, going back, I don't remember when, but quite a ways back. Much further back than we thought. So, woo for misinformation. So anyways, I'm going to give that level a negative. It's the first level I've given a negative so far. I mean, that's what we're here for, Tiny Hippo. We literally talked earlier about how we tend to be pretty chill around here. So apparently we're very tolerant of the neurodivergent. I gotta be honest, I hadn't even heard of that phrase until like last year. Alright. Now to be extremely toxic. You suck. I mean, it's easy to make people friendly. All you do is put a gun to their heads and say, be friendly! Be friendly or die! And they're friendly. It's great. I don't see what everyone makes a big fuss about. It's super easy. Instead of neurodivergent, I've got a better term. You ready for this? Weirdos!
Welcome to Frozen Altars, Spyro. On behalf of the Ice Fairies, I want to grant you a special power for as long as you stay in our world.
Thanks. Okay, I should probably explain that joke a little bit. When I was younger, me and my mother and my friends used to consider the word weird to be a positive thing. Like, being called weird was considered a compliment, not an insult. Now, part of that was a degree of coping. Because a lot of people would deliberately use weird as an insult, and so we'd be like, oh, thank you. And that was the coping mechanism, right? But it's kind of stuck with me ever since, which is funny considering how much I don't like weird stuff. Anyways.
Some bearer sold us a laser defense system to protect us from Rhinox, but with these flippers, I can't even turn it on. You'd have no trouble using it, though. Just walk inside. When you're done, press the action button, and you'll walk back out.
Sure. You like murdering people with a death ray? Because I do! As I say, you know why I played as the Brotherhood of Nod back in the day? Because it's not because of their politics, although it is a little bit because of Cain. It's because they got the frickin' obelisk. Actually, I hope to tell that full story someday, because what it boiled down to was I started off CNC way back in the day. Obviously, it was one of my first RTSs ever. I was like, oh, this is really cool, but God, those obelisks suck. Maybe I should play as that faction so I could get those obelisks on my side. And so I actually paused the GDI campaign in mid-campaign to switch to the Nod, and immediately fell in love with it. From God, to Cain, to Seth. Look, I'm sorry, the Brotherhood of Nod is horrifically evil and all that, but they are rather well presented from a storytelling perspective. Whoops, wrong button. I did eventually finish the GDI campaign, yes. Took a minute. And again, Joseph Kukin is so much of why that series nailed it. I'm sorry. Like, I endorse the idea of a new team trying to do their spin on Command & Conquer and maybe seeing that franchise be renovated and, you know, revitalized. But it will never be the same Command & Conquer because it will not have Joseph Kukin. And that's fine. It's just, you know, we gotta acknowledge that. We gotta accept that. I never played Renegade. Never got around to it. I think your carrot's supposed to be on your nose, but whatever.
Eustace and I were having a snowman building competition when the sorceress brought them to life with a spell. Since then, they've been stomping around, building ice walls, and generally causing trouble.
That's hilarious. Goya. Not as hilarious as Evo's comment, which is the funniest thing ever. Die, Evo, die! Run, screaming! I should probably get caught up on a couple things here. Yeah, the game continues to be evil. So, best site for moderation tools. Of the streaming sites, Twitch. Favorite sport, football. Least favorite sport, football. How many of you got that? Actually, joking aside, I don't really have much of a problem with football. Now, baseball... Baseball is more fun to play than to watch. So I've never actually gotten into baseball. I know I could say that about a lot of sports, but...
It would be easy to get up to that treasure if you had something to stand on.
And I never got into hockey because I'm not from Michigan. No, I think... Okay, so I'm going to give it actually a pretty unpopular opinion here. You ready for this? Extremely unpopular opinion. It's not a joke. This is actually an unpopular opinion. I mean, if real-life baseball included Klingons, Ferengi, and Vulcans, maybe I'd enjoy it more, but anyways. I'm actually in favor of the slowly increasing amount of regulation and safety, which has been creeping into a lot of sports over the years to make them less physically damaging and or life-threatening to the people performing those sports. Now, I could give a lot of examples of that, but the sport which is actually my favorite sport, because I was memeing earlier, is Formula 1. And Formula 1 is... Yeah, that is actually a controversial opinion, would you believe it? Because Formula 1, if you rewind time about, I don't know, 50 years... like, I honestly urge you to not look up some of the accidents Formula 1 used to happen. Unless you are okay with that kind of legitimately disturbing thing. There's some very... gruesome things that have happened in Formula 1. Like, really? No, I'm not joking. I'm not memeing. It's not like, oh, no, it's bad. It's bad. So, that is a controversial opinion because a lot of people are not in favor of that as an overall thing. They think it diminishes the sport, or they think that it takes away from the excitement, or it's pretty much the exact same mentality that I tend to hear about people being upset about the GDQs, speedrunning, and how the GDQs have gotten more structured and more regulated in the last 10 years. Yeah, NASCAR is actually another perfect example of a sport that used to be a lot more dangerous than it currently is. No, I'm good, Tiny Hippo. You want to look that up, that's on you. I'm not going to empower that. Ha ha ha, Zillow. But yeah, no, so I'm into sports. I have been since I was young, honestly. But I'm in favor of trying to make them less damaging to the people actually performing them. Because I'm a weirdo, apparently. Having said that, I do think there is such a thing as too much regulation, but that's obviously a little bit more case by case. Boxing, that's a tough one, because obviously I have a very personal bias there, because I used to love boxing. In fact, I still have boxing gloves to this very day. The problem is, boxing is still punching someone, often as hard as you can, in a tight environment where you don't really have a moment to process whether or not you're going to cause them any permanent damage. Like, I know that sounds like a weird statement, but let me try to explain this a little bit. I talk a lot about being in the moment. When you're in the moment, your brain operates a little bit differently, and you tend to do things you would otherwise regret. Or you'd look back and think, why did I ever do that? That's ridiculous, right? No, that is exactly why I like Balrog. Well, I got into Balrog because I like boxing, and then I kept playing him because he's fun to play. But point being, yeah, boxing is, or any combative sport, really. When you're in the moment, it's a lot harder to remember that that person over there is an opponent, a person, a fellow comrade of a sport, and it's a lot easier to think of them as the enemy, which is a very important distinction when it comes to how our brains operate. And we tend to get a little bit more animal when we're fighting the enemy than if we're fighting a person. And so even with proper regulation and proper safety features in place, there is still a lot of potential and actual damage that happens in a lot of fighting things, because sometimes in the moment, you're not thinking about it, you're just, and, well, stuff happens.
Thanks for helping out, Spyro. Why don't you take this? The Rhinox were trying to fry it with a laser, but you stopped them just in time.
Loop get. Now, one of the other counter-arguments I tend to hear boils down to... Yeah, no kidding, Pillars of Snow. Jokes aside. Hey, Sierra, Mike. So obviously, okay, the ideal would be something kind of sci-fi-y. Imagine if you're boxing someone or something that isn't going to cause literal permanent damage to you or the thing being boxed. That would be some kind of ideal, and that's probably never going to happen, because part of the point of competitive sports is to be fighting against someone else, competing, after all. So that's probably never happening. So the other side of that is, of course, well, I mean, professional people get into these sports deliberately, right? It's their choice. They have the right to make that choice, to put themselves into a situation where they're going to be put into danger and potentially or actually face long-term damage as a result of the sport. The thing is, that optional part and that choice part of that have massive asterisks attached to them, because there's a whole lot of cultural and political and personal, and this is the big one, financial push for people to drift into those sports. Huge amount of push. At least, I don't know if this is true in other countries, but here in the States, there is a ridiculous amount of financial incentive to get into professional sports. And the younger you get into it, the better. So, and yeah, as Takoida says, this is a very, very real problem that is still true in the States. It's actually used to be worse, believe it or not, is that people will deliberately throw themselves at professional sports of one type or another, which will and usually does cause them long-term harm, on the hope that they will be able to make enough money out of it in order to be able to then, you know, afford taking care of themselves and effectively retiring for the rest of their life. And there's lots and lots and lots of cases of people who took that bet and succeeded and didn't really have a particularly good rest of their life because of the permanent damage that they took during the course of their career. So that's why I say there's those asterisks attached. So do I have any interest in hockey? Hang on. Okay, that's hockey for me. Any other questions?
Say, Spyro, you're a sports fan, aren't you? As you probably know,
speaking of,
Alters is the birthplace of the great sport of cat hockey. Today's match is sold out, of course, but I just happen to have a spare ticket that I'll sell you for, say, a teensy-weensy markup. Head on in, Spyro.
Oh, I meant to say no.
In fact, I've even placed a little wager on the Rhinoc team. Let's just hope the local team doesn't have any last-minute accidents.
So yeah, what's cat hockey? Why are there cats in that centrifuge thing up there? I have seen the Rocky... Or, no, I have not seen all the Rocky films. I never got to watch Creed, although I'm told it's actually really good.
I challenged a Rhinoc to a traditional game of cat hockey, but I think I sprained my flipper while training. Would you mind taking my place?
Hi, Eclectic.
Great. Freeze the cats and push them into my goal to score.
So it's the hockey minigame from earlier, but it's actually worse. So we are, I just want to make this very clear. We are freezing cats in giant blocks of ice and using them as hockey pucks. I want everyone to understand, this is our life now. This is what we are. This is what we have become. Beating that poor cat.
Well done. I think you deserve to keep the Champions Cup.
Wait, what? I can't jump. I am incapable of jumping. Is there another one?
You gave that Rhinoc such a drubbing. He's retired from the sport for good.
What is this, Punch Out? Now that you say that, I think you're right, Valvatrix. When you just encounter ice, like, in the level. In fact, hang on. Oh, I know, random. I want that game ported onto the frickin' Switch. In fact, I want all 3 of those games on the Switch. I think 2 of them are, aren't there? But not the really good one. And that's just frustrating. Alright. I need to get up, which is over here. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Punch-Out. I'm not sure how it'll review. And I'm a big fan of Punch-Out, Super Punch-Out. I'm not sure how that one will review. But, interesting. But Punch-Out Wii is a surprisingly well-crafted game. Like, a really well-crafted game. It's got a lot of polish, too. And that's ignoring the ridiculous stereotypes thing, which, by the way, to be as blunt as I possibly can, will be getting positives because of how wonderfully, hilariously ridiculous they are. Hell, they even did their due diligence, and pretty much all of the people talking are actually speaking in the native languages in question and saying the ridiculous, terrible lines. So, if I was a Pokemon gym leader, what would my specialty be? My first thought is Ghost. My second thought is Steel. My third thought is Ice. So, one of those 3. Anyway, so someone, looks like Dr. Winter asked, am I aware of what they did with TMs in Scarlet and Violet? No, I am not. I know what they did with TMs back in X and Y, I want to say. But otherwise, no. Favorite Punch-Out fighter? No, I still can't jump here. Wow. Look at that. So favorite Punch-Out fighter. No, go ahead and save it, Dr. Winter. I don't mind finding out when we get there in like a billion years. It's a really tough question. So my favorite Punch-Out fighter in 1. Let's limit myself here. So in the original NES, my favorite Punch-Out fighter is... I think I'm gonna go with the classic and say Bald Bull. In Super, that's actually a little bit trickier. No, I'm gonna change my mind. I'm actually gonna go with Sandman in the original. And that's just because he's based on a real-life boxer. One of the only ones who is. In 2, in Super... Believe it or not, I think I'm going to go with Nick Bruiser on that one. There's actually a lot of really colorful ones, but I just love the giant guy who wouldn't react to anything. Unless you hit him perfectly, obviously. How do I get up? Which leads us with Wii. Now, Wii's tough. There's a lot of memorable characters in Wii. I don't even know where to start with that. So first, I will say, thank you, Ciela. And Pillars of Snow, if you know what you want to put that sub towards, please let me know. So, yeah, because, like, top to bottom, we've got Sandman, who's awesome and brutally vicious to fight. And, yeah, he's extremely tightly designed, and even he only does one thing I would consider cheap in his entire fight, which is the fake-outs. Which is mean considering how tight his timing is. Then, there's the Super Macho Man, who is exactly what he should be. Then there's Aaron Ryan, who is hysterical. Just... I don't have anything else to add to him. We've got the Boxerciser, that's the Disco Kid, who is also fantastic. Like, just, honestly, top to bottom, they're all kind of amazing. That's almost the problem. It's like, how do I pick a favorite amongst that group? I'm not going to be able to make that. But I kind of want to give it to Soda Popinski. Because I get it, you know, drunk Vodinsky and all that. But honestly, they took the fact that he drinks soda pop as his superpower and ran with it. Like, in the middle of the fight, he'll pull out a soda, and it is soda, and he'll guzzle it down, and he'll just turn into this Super Doom fight. You know, he'll gain a rotation, or whatever that's actually called. Or you can knock the bottle out of his hand, which really pisses him off, and then he will absolutely stomp you unless you're ready for it. Yeah, exactly. They took what was a censorship thing and turned it into his actual gimmick, and it's awesome. But anyways, I'll take a hint. I'm running out of ideas here. I do not know what to do. Vodka Kapolsky. I did not know that, Yura. Yeah, like with Drakengard's here, Mike. I actually got insulted by being in favor of the censorship in Drakengard. Go figure. Jump on building to my left? Wow. I can get up here. Oh, okay, no I can't. Hang on. Okay. Made it up here. Sure, we can try that. So have I played any of the 3D fighters? Other than Dissidia. So I actually have played Tekken. Armored King was my main. I, however, have not actually played Soul Calibur or Dead or Alive. Except for the beach ball version, obviously. I played the hell out of that. Like, every day, non-stop. Beach ball volleyball. Or Dead or Alive volleyball. Whatever it's called. I'm screwing up my joke. I haven't actually played Dead or Alive volleyball, beach, whatever it's called. Nor have I played Dead or Alive in general. I suppose if we want to stretch that, I haven't played the recent Street Fighters either. I did play Virtua Fighter, which kind of started a lot of things historically, which I didn't know about until recently. Do you have an example, Dr. Winter? I work better with analogies. So, what keeps throwing me is the camera keeps trying to rotate around the building, which is changing what forwards is on my controller, which keeps throwing me as I'm walking on this thin, narrow area. If you're wondering why I keep falling off, that's why. Come on, game. Okay. Now what? Let's see. Let's say that should realistically occur, Star Trek has video games. What's the favorite video game of each captain? Or favorite genre of each captain? Ooh. Okay, so let's start with Archer. Archer is boring, dumb, stupid, and out of date. So, Archer likes to play games that Django likes. You know, like Fallout 1, or, other old games, like something I can't think of the names of. God damn it. Oh yeah, he also plays the hell out of Nintendogs. Oh yeah, he plays Rogue, as in the original Rogue. or Lotro. He extols the virtues, and every time someone calls him on it, he's like, no, 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 the older games are better. And every time he actually sits down and plays them, he doesn't have fun with them. And he sighs and just puts it away. So that moves up to Kirk. Don't fall off the ledge there, Spyro. You put me awfully close to that ledge there, game. Kirk. Yeah, I was going to say, Kirk is very much the kind of person who loves to challenge himself. I actually like the idea of him being into Souls-likes or Soulsborns. He is absolutely the kind of person who would love to find unique, interesting... Like, it's been described to me before that one of the points of a Souls-like, a properly designed Souls-like, is the game is unfairly balanced against you. And so the whole point is that you are supposed to game the system. You are supposed to cheat, not literally, but metaphorically, in order to abuse and misuse the system in order to win, right? And that just sounds like Kirk to me. I agree with that, Baron. Kirk would find the get good part of the toxic members of the fan base to be terrible, but I think he would be into the games themselves. So then we move forward to Picard. Have you ever seen Train Simulator? No, I don't mean like Railway Empire or things like that. I mean just straight up true Sims, right? Where the simulator is, or like there's a farming simulator, right? That's Picard. He likes to get into those games that are legitimate simulators, the ones that do everything they can to simulate the real act as closely and as precisely as possible. And he would be the kind of person who would extol that. And he would gush about it, right? He would talk about how awesome it is, and he's got this new tractor pull, the new, I can't even think of the terminology. It's the thing you connect to the back of the tractor to then connect to the thing you're towing. And he got this new one, which has a slightly different gradient to it, so because of that, it can pull these other different types of things while losing less traction going across the thing. And that allows him to pull against 5 degrees more gradient as he's going. He would tell me Picard would dive into that. So then we move forward to Cisco. I gotta think about that one for a second. Damn it. By the way, if you want to just tell me straight up where to go if I'm going the wrong way, please do that. I'd like to finish this level before we cut off for break. And I've been stuck here for an inordinately long period of time because of how long it takes to restart this jump every time I screw up. Yeah, I'm already tired of the song. Like I said, we've been here for a minute. Cisco would be into Mega Man Legends too, obviously. Thank you for the 5 there, Doralis. Much appreciated. And I will jot that down for Mega Man Legends too. And hang on, I just saw Pillars of Snow thing for Sonic Adventure. You got it. Done. And thank you, Doralis. So, my first thought for Cisco was No Man's Sky, but that doesn't feel quite right. So what I'm going for is a super chill game. Like Cisco would be into chill games. Hey, it's Cecil. Cisco would be into the kind of game where he could go virtually kayaking for a while. Or, actually, yeah, Stardew Valley, Elite Dangerous, that's not a bad idea. Like, super chill games, right? Flower might not be a bad example as well. The new Pokemon Snap. Like, he would just kind of want to get into that kind of... just sit back, effectively turn off your brain, and enjoy the experience kind of a thing. You remember when Cisco bothered to build a Bajoran solar ship? Quote-unquote, the right way? Just because he wanted the experience of it? That's Cisco in his spare time. That's the kind of game he would get into. I am missing the boxing. Where's the boxing thing? This way, I think? God, where was that? I've spent so much time in this level, I've lost track of where things are. Okay, it is over here. It is over here.
Spyro, I have just received word from my little brother. He appears to be having some trouble with a Yeti.
That dumb Yeti took my ball. I told him to give it back or you'd kick his lousy butt, but he wouldn't listen. I knew you'd do it. Go and show him not to mess with us. Remember to block his high punches and hit him low when he tries to block.
Okay. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so... that's block. That's body blow. That's supercut. Okay. Oh my god. There's more. Why is there more? I'm trying to figure out what the buttons are. There we go. That's low. Oh my god, there's so much input delay. Oh my god, that input delay. If you ever see me punching more than once, that's not because I hit the button more than once. But it's just because of inputting. Jesus. That is awful to control.
You really showed him. Hey, wait a minute. This isn't my ball.
Yeah, that's just... ooh.
You should go back and kick his butt again. Make him give me my ball back.
Alright, but hang on.
This time, it'll be a 3-round match.
I mean, those controls are terrible, Mr. Red. You don't have to argue that for me. Those are just... ugh. I could tell immediately that that was going to be a pain. The fact that I one-shot that... this goes back to Dr. Winter's question. The fact that I one-shot that and had no issues with it does not diminish the fact that that's a negative. Now, the other side of the question, would that be less negatives because I one-shot it? Probably yes. But let's see how we do in our second one. But first I need to pull up a saw. We must do this properly. What? Ah, okay. Okay, hopefully this will be a long enough version of the song. Oh, this will work. Hang on. Let's do it! God, I can barely hear the music under that. easily see this going into 2 negative territory. This is a really bad version of rock, paper, scissors. And I'm not a big fan of rock, paper, scissors anyways, like in general.
Only 2 more rounds to go. You're doing great.
Yeah, the frame timing on when he takes damage from what feels inconsistent, like it's actually not properly coded, to put it bluntly. Sometimes I can actually knock him out of a punch with a punch, and sometimes I can't, and sometimes he blocks it, and sometimes he doesn't.
Hey, this isn't my bowl. It's just another stupid eye.
Knockout! Piece of cake! Right on! And nobody's gonna get that. Dude, I wish I had a chocolate bar. Oh, I do! Oh my god! I have chocolate! I have leftover chocolate from Thanksgiving. The infinite power of chocolate is mine. So, Janeway. Let me answer Janeway, and then we'll probably chop off for lunch. Did I finish this area? I did. Destroy the Walket? So what would Janeway be into? What am I hearing? No, I think it's the guy who has since despawned, who is now going through the portal. Well, thank God. Janeway likes running guns. Hear me out for just a second. So, Janeway wants to not have to think in her off time. That's one of the few consistent character traits she has in Voyager. And she's not a particularly violent person, but she's also got that disconnect. And she likes to practice her craft. She likes to really work at something and get better at it. And all of those just kind of describe run-and guns, in my opinion. Like, it's not like there's no skill involved in a run-and-gun. Those games actually can be very difficult. But there's not a lot of traditional thought going into them. When I say thought, what I mean by that is, it's not like you're sitting there puzzling over something, right? It's not like playing Homeworld or Talos Principle, or something like that. Instead, most of your thought is more on the instinctual, reflexive side of things. Yeah, she'd hate RPGs, exactly. Uncomplicated, I like that. So, yeah, she'd be into those kinds of just getting into the moment and grinding down your enemies and dying and grinding down your enemies kind of a thing. And I think that would describe Janeways. And that's all the captains, because there are no other Star Treks. Tune in next time for other bombshells.